Yep, it's green. Oh, this bright light is like, I look like I don't know what I'm doing because I don't. Ready? Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Margaret, and we are coming live from Rhode Island Parent Information Network with our first Facebook Live workshop. All right? So this is our first one. So we're going to get a round of applause here, okay? Our first one, okay? So before we get started, just a friendly reminder to turn down your cell phones. If you do need to take a phone call, I ask that you just kind of exit out the side doors quietly and you can return to your seats. We do have a live audience today, and hopefully we want to have a live audience, and hopefully we'll be getting some people logging in, and we'll be taking some questions throughout the workshop. So our workshop today is titled Transitioning from Early Intervention to the Successful Preschool IEP. And we have three presenters today. They are parent consultants. We have Denise Boulay from Community Care Alliance. We also have Pamela Donor from Meeting Street. And we have Kelly Fantozzi from Trudeau. Just a little plug with the parent consultants. Some may be asking, what is a parent consultant? I'm going to tell you. A parent consultant is a parent or a caregiver who has had a child that went through an early intervention process. So not only have we lived it and talked it, you have the opportunity to have actual parents present this workshop to you. So that's really a plus because we really know exactly what everyone is going through out there. Do we have any people logging in at all? Yeah? No, we don't. Okay, no, not yet. Okay, no logins. Okay, so I guess we can just get started, right? Okay, I'm going to have Denise come up and start her presentation.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. My name is Denise, as Margaret introduced, and I'm going to be presenting to you the first part of our workshop today. And I want to refer to the packets that are on your tables. All the materials are in there. I'm going to go through them very briefly, and also for all of you online, we're going to, we have all of those pamphlets and materials available on the RIPIN website. If you go into workshops, and you can pull up the PowerPoint, and you can also pull up all the materials that I'm going to go through on the packet, okay? So the first thing we have on the left side of your folder is some handouts and flyers, information, Rhode Island Early Learning Development Standards. And more information on this if you want, for those of you online, you can find at www.rields.com. Okay? We also have the Rhode Island Family Guide to Participating in the Child Outcome Measurement Process. And we will show you where you can find that at the end of our PowerPoint. Track Your Child's Developmental Milestones from CDC. Child Outreach Screening Flyer. And our RIPIN pamphlet. We also have a booklet, and it is the Rhode Island Early Intervention Transition Workbook. We will be referring to this a lot, so you might want to keep that one handy as we go through the PowerPoint, okay? And on the right-hand side, you should have your PowerPoint. Transition at a glance sheet. The Rhode Island Transition Notification and Consent we'll call T1 in the PowerPoint, and then on the back will be T2. Guiding questions for families and caregivers. The Rhode Island Child Outcomes Form, COES Child Outcome Summary Form, Section A, B, and C are all attached to one in here. And then we have the Early Childhood Decision Tree flowchart. Rhode Island Part B, 619 contacts. And then we have colored sheets here, which is support roles, practice phrases that will help you. It's all in the way you say it, in the pink sheet, and before you visit on the yellow. So that is everything that's in our packet. So we're going to start today, and we want to make sure that this is going to go forward. All right. Okay, you can go back. Okay. Because sometimes it goes to sleep. Okay. So when you hear the word transition, what words come to mind when you hear that?
Change.
Change.
Awkwardness.
Awkwardness.
New.
New. There's lots of words that can come to mind.
I was also going to say change.
Change. Okay. So there are a lot of negative and positive words that could go along with the word transition. But it can be a positive, especially when you're prepared. So that's what we're going to show you today, is how to prepare yourselves for the transitioning from early intervention and getting ready for that IEP meeting. Okay? Okay, so the actual definition, in case everyone wanted to know, is the movement, passage, or change from one position, state, stage, subject, concept, etc., to another. So that is the actual definition, and you can find it in the Webster's Dictionary. So, and if anybody wants to know where we got it, some people like that. Okay, thank you. Okay. Saying goodbye to EI. Based on Rhode Island special education regulations, EI services will not extend beyond the child's 3rd birthday. And those regulations are found, if you want to look them up, on www.ride.ri.gov, and that is the RIDE website. And also, just so you know, families do have the option not to send their child to special education or have their child receive special education services. Okay? And we're talking preschool. Okay? Hold on. Is my child potentially eligible for special education? About 66% of children leaving early intervention will qualify for special education and related services. Thank you. To be eligible for special education and related services, a child must meet IDEA's definition of a child with a disability. So IDEA is Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. It is the federal law that provides for the education of children with disabilities. So when we talk about, and this is the section, you can find it if you want to go into the regulations, which again is on the RIDE website that we just mentioned a couple of slides ago. You can also find it, it's in section 602.3 if you want to look it up. Also, when we talk about related services, we are talking about it could be such as physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech and language therapy. It can be provided as either part of a placement or by itself. And a lot of times you'll see this as a speech and language services alone. And when we talk about special education, we are talking about, this usually involves a special educator as well as a placement. Okay? So there are 14 categories of disabilities. Also, I want to refer to, at this time, your Rhode Island Early Intervention Transition Workbook. Those definitions can be found in here on pages 17 and 18 if you wanted further descriptions of the definition. Also, they can be found in the Rhode Island regulations too. Just think of these, it's actually in 300.8 if you want to know that. That's where the section is. Just think of this as a category, or these are categories just that you need to access services, okay? You've got the clicker, okay. So we talk about developmental delay as one of the categories. That is most children who are found eligible for special education under the age of 5 fit into the category of developmental delay. So developmental delay refers to a 25% delay when compared to the same age peers, or a greater than 2 standard deviations below average performance in one area of development, or 1.5 standard deviations below average in 2 or more areas of development. Also, that the disability will adversely affect a child's ability to learn without special education. Also, when we talk about developmental delay, this category can only go up to ages 3 to 8. And we have a question here?
Yes, we do. Where can people get a copy of the transition workbook?
They can get that on the Sherlock Center website in the Early Intervention Program or Early Intervention section. You click on Early Intervention, and usually it should be resource. They have to go into the transition section. Okay?
We have a second question also. If
Yes.
a child fits into one of these categories, will he or she automatically get special education services?
If they fit into developmental delay,
Correct.
they will get special education services.
Will they automatically get special education services?
They could get related services. It may not necessarily be a special education program. It could be related services. Mm-hmm.
Determined later.
Yeah, as it's determined through in the process, which we will talk about. Okay. Also, you can. This is a lot of words, and just keep in mind you can always still just make sure you go back to your early intervention service coordinator, and they can help you with clarifying the standard deviations and also the percentages. Okay. Who has the clicker? Margaret? Right next. Okay. Okay, so we're going into talking about the difference in systems because we will be transitioning from one system to another. So when we talk about early intervention, that's referred to in the regulations as Part C. And then when we go into special education, that is referred to as Part B. Okay? So the difference you could see in systems are in early intervention, the outcomes are more geared to the family and the child. And then when you go into Part B, which is special education, it's all child-centered goals and educationally based goals. Okay? And then when you go into early intervention, as far as the focus is on the family set priorities. So the families set the priorities of what they want the goals to be for that child. And when you go into special education, the family has a role as a team member, but they don't determine solely what the goals are going to be. Okay, they're part of the team, a very important part. Okay, and then service coordination is usually what you will have when you have early intervention. You have a service coordinator that is coordinating all of your services that is in your family plan, which is called the Individualized Family Service Plan. But when you go into Special Education Part B, Multidisciplinary services are usually provided, and they usually have to be coordinated, or the parent is still somewhat of the coordinator, making sure that those services still are being followed through with good communication with the team. And that is also, this information is in your transition workbook on page 9, okay? You can get more information on that too. More? Okay. There we go. Okay. Okay. So, when we start to talk about transition, this is the first thing you will probably see, and actually at 27 months we put up there. We have the transition 1, that is in your packet, and it looks like this, as you see up here. Okay. We call it the transition 1, and the service coordinator, your early intervention service coordinator, will also, the service coordinator will come out and start to talk about transition and the process with you around 27 months. They should. And then at 28 months, they will come out again and fill the form out with you. And that gets sent over to the local educational agency. And that is Part B. We call Part B. And also, just to keep in mind, the parent has the option to opt in or out all the way up to the IEP, okay? So they may be where they change their mind or they're not sure at first because it is 6 months of a time and a lot could change in 6 months. The child could really progress fast and then they decide, well, I don't really think that we really need to proceed. The parent doesn't need to proceed with special education. It is their option to do that, okay? So these are the meetings that should happen when we talk about transition process, when we get all the way up to the IEP. The first one is the transition conference, and that should happen around 30 months. Then we have the other 3 meetings that are run by the school department, and we'll talk about those in more detail later, which is the referral meeting. And then we have the eligibility meeting and the IEP meeting. And again, this is the beginning of possibly a long relationship with the school department, okay? This information and the description of these meetings are also found in your transition workbook on pages 2 through 6, okay? So as you see, I keep pulling this up because it's an important document to keep with you through the process, okay? Okay, transition at a glance. That is also in your packet. This is something that you definitely want to keep with you from 27 months all the way to the IEP. This describes the process, who should be there, and what should happen. Okay? Do you have a question? No question? Okay. Thought we had a question in the audience. So you can get this copy. Usually these are in your transition packets that EI gives to you starting at the 28 months. Okay, when they talk about transition, they give you all the resources in there. That is usually in there. But if you don't have it, you can certainly ask your service coordinator to get a copy for you, or you can ask your parent consultant, they can get you that copy too. Okay? So keep it. It's a good guide for the process. Hold it. Not clicking? We need the clicker. Thank you. So when we talk about family preparation, again, we are going to refer to the transition workbook. And this is also something that you want to keep from 27 months on. This will be in your transition packet, or should be. And if you don't see it, or maybe you did get it, and there's a whole lot going on when we have early intervention in our homes, and we're trying to coordinate stuff and services and appointments. that we may forget it's there, and you could always ask early intervention to get you another copy. If you've misplaced it, or who knows, it could have been baby food all over it, and et cetera, right? So keep this and refer to this, because the process and everything that's going to happen is in here. And it also is good because it gives you information on how you can start putting down your ideas too. Okay? So back up all the requests with supporting data is where we start. What you want to do is, before the referral meeting, start to gather up your data that supports specific requests or describes specific behaviors that you need them to better understand. Okay? Write or type your ideas clearly. So having things written down ahead of time before you go into the meetings is very helpful to kind of keep on point, or remember, or almost keep it like a reminder of what you want to ask the team. Because when you do walk in there, it is a little intimidating. It is, it's new. So if you have something in front of you that has your questions and things that you want to talk about, it's a lot more helpful to have. Okay? So gather all your papers and supporting documents. Keep it in a folder or a binder or something that will hold all of your information. Okay? It's also helpful, like I would say on the front page, keep this here, because that's always good to keep the process going. Have your child's picture. If they're not with you at those meetings, have their picture on the front of that folder. Put it on the table so they all know, oh, okay, this is who we're talking about, and it just makes it a little more real for them. Okay. Also, it keeps everything in one place. So if you have all of the information, you know it's right there. And it actually is appreciated by the team. So they say, oh, wow, they're ready to really be a participant in this team. Okay? So you also, as far as documents, when we talk about putting documents in the folder too, it would be good to put the IFSP, the Individualized Family Service Plan, any evaluations that early intervention didn't do, that they may not have to give to the team because they can't always give those evaluations out, that would be important for the team to have, the school team. You could put, there's other things like, I'm trying to think, what else could we put in there? Medical records, progress reports, EI evaluations. Also, have them all in there ready. In case they don't have a copy, then you have it right there and the school department can just grab it. Okay. Yes, Lynette, we have a question online.
Sarah asks, do parents or EI providers give the schools copies of their assessments and evaluations during the transition meeting?
During the transition conference?
Yes.
Okay. Do they give, can you repeat the first part?
Should parents provide the copies of assessments and evaluations during the transition conference?
Usually that is sent over when the transition 1 form is filled out and sent to the school, which is the first notification to the school department, the LEA. That information is sent over. But it certainly wouldn't hurt to have those copies with you when you go to the meeting, because you never, just in case, it's good to have them. Okay? Any more? Okay. So put it in order according to the process. And again, when we say the process, here's your sheet right here. Okay? And actually, the other thing is to put in your workbook or your folder that you bring is this. This is good to have with you too. Okay? Because you're going to have information in there too. Okay. So keep in mind you have 6 months to prepare for this. So you can definitely ask your early intervention team, service coordinator, and the parent consultant to help out with starting to gather this information. And we're going to talk about specifically the child outcome summary too later on in the process, the PowerPoint that also talks about the data too that you would be preparing. So now Pamela is going to show us how to present your child's information.
It's on. Okay. I just hope I'm not naked. Hello, everyone, and thank you, Denise. Our next slide will be about how do you present your child information. And you have to present it clearly, stick to the facts, and respectfully. Transitioning can be a very difficult time, so you need to put your feeling aside, express.
We have a question.
Okay, let's hold on for the question for a second. Finish what you're saying. Yep, finish what you're saying.
Transitioning can be a very challenging time, so you need to put your feelings aside and try to express the facts in a very respectful manner, yet powerful way, so that the school will understand you and they will get the picture of your child. You also have to present your information carefully. You have to be consistent in your information. Your message, consistent in your message and in the information you share about your child. And also, you have to keep in mind that this is not a fight. This is a teamwork, and you are going to be working with the school department for many, many years. So you want to show them some respect, and they will also show you respect. Your EI providers, the team, they can also coach you what your role will be when you go to the transition meetings. And it will be a good time for them also to introduce you to the parent consultant on the side, so that they can also help you and, help you write in information, questions, things that you will be asking the school. Our next slide is role of the parent guardian during the transition process. Represent your child interest. This is the most important role you have, by helping the school district to focus their attention on your child as an individual, as a real living person. Sharing your expertise on your child. You are the expert as the parent. You know your child more than anyone. With your expertise, you will help the school get an accurate picture of your child, sharing the knowledge you have about your child. Also, as Denise mentioned, bring a picture if your child is not there, so that they will know who you are talking about. Then we come to be part of the decision-making process. You know your child, as I mentioned. You know your child personality. You know what works for your child and what don't work. So you have to discuss that with the school department, because you know more than they do. Then our last is act as your child advocate. The definition for advocate is one who speaks on behalf of another. And at this moment, you are your child voice. So you have to do your best to represent your child. Transition conference usually happen 30 months of age with your school district. The transition conference is to provide overview of options, to educate the parent, and also activities. And this meeting usually include your EI team, your local education, which we said earlier, your local education advisory, and also you can invite your parent consultant as a support to this meeting. And you have to remember, this meeting is run by the EI, because this is the meeting where they talk about your child and have discussions with the school district. This is also the first meeting you will be having with your school district. This will be your beginning of your relationship. So you have to share informations, and at the end of this meeting, they will come up with they will create an individual transition plan, which the parent will have a copy, the EI team will have a copy, and the school department will also have a copy to refer and to follow that plan. And please don't forget, You always have to ask for phone numbers, location of meetings, and also the reason, purpose of the meeting, because you'll be having a couple more meetings. And as a reminder again, these are the team members so that you don't forget. Oh, the next page. The transition meeting. So these are the team members. You, the parent, your EI team, the parent consultant, and also your local education agency. We have the T2 in your packages.
Can I ask a question right before? So, about that last meeting, who tells you where to go for that meeting? Is it the school that would tell you, or is it your EI?
Your service coordinator will know, and the school will also call you, because the service coordinator will be the one sending all the information and arrange for the meetings. So the service coordinator will know, and also the school will inform the parent.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
And we are going to talk about the T2, which start at 13 months of age. You have the T2 in your packages. The T2 will be completed by the service coordinator and the parent. Also, more things can be added to the T2 during transition, and it's a working document. Now, your T2, you have the child name, and you have a date of birth, a section for the child. So this is where, if there is a hearing test, they'll be putting the hearing test over here. And also, if you have any 4 to 6 months EI evaluation, they will be putting it right here. The next section is for the school district, where you will be having scheduled meetings. So they will put the appointment here for you. And also, they will put the child outcome summary, which is course B and A, and you have it in your packages. That can also be put on that side. Then for the family, they can also put 4 to 6 months review. They can put registration here also to remind the family to have registration, because sometimes when you are going through transition, it can be just for speech or PT. You still have to register your child with the school department for services to start. So they can put that over here. And also, if there are any follow-up hearing tests, they will put it right there. Then the last section, they can also put the child outcome summary, which is course A. They can put that over there. And also the individual family service plan known as IFSP. They can also put a review over here, whether it's 6 months or 4-month review. And also EI will be sending all evaluations, and they can put that also there.
Okay, hold on for 1 second. Do we have a question?
Yes, we do. At what age should the IEP eligibility meeting occur?
Well, the process, the referral meetings start from ages 33 to 35. So after that meeting, can you repeat it again?
The question is, at what age should an IEP eligibility meeting occur?
Well, after your referral meeting, then you have the eligibility meeting. Then the next one will be IEP meeting.
And we are going to cover that.
Yes, just Pamela said.
We are going to cover that more into details. Yeah, so you have to have the referral meeting first, then you have the eligibility meeting. And the referral meetings start at ages 33 to 35 months of age. The purpose of this meeting is for the school team to collect and discuss all information they have about your child. They will review the information provided by EI with parent, guardian, and other sources. Your local education agency will use the child outcome summary A from EI, and any other information shared during the meeting. And they can also add more information to the child outcome summary during that time. And also, discussion with other information is needed to determine eligibility. So, as a reminder again, the referral meeting, these are the team members. The parent, guardian have to be there, local education agency, and also someone from early intervention staff. Mostly the service coordinator will be there, and the parent consultant. And if you need interpreter as needed, they will provide it. So you have to let the school department know ahead of time to make the necessary arrangements. Also, referral meeting is held at the district office, your school department district office. And the purpose for the meeting is for the team to, what we said before, to collect data and also to discuss all information they have about your child. Before the meeting, your EI team will also work with you to prepare a draft of the child outcome summary known as COSE. And this information can be found in our transition workbook. So, I hope whoever asked the question is still there. The eligibility meeting will start from ages 33 to 35 months. That is when the evaluation team meets, which is the school district, meet to determine eligibility for special education. So when they meet, they have already discussed all the evaluations, all the information from the early intervention team. That's when they will let the parent know whether the child is eligible. Also, your early intervention team will lead the discussion about child functioning and present level of development compared to same age peers. Your local agency, education agency, also will record child's behavior, skills, and functioning on the child outcome summary B.
And I just wanted to add, at this time, that's usually when the school asks for initial consent for special education services going forward.
Okay, can you just
So do
repeat
you want to say that?
A consent, initial consent from the parents.
during that time?
At that meeting.
And again, these are your team members, people who will be present. The parent, local education agency, special education teacher or special education service provider, regular ed teacher, interpreter if you need one, an individual who can interpret instructional implications of education results. And also remember, all these meetings, you can invite whoever you want to be present. They just have to be, bring something positive on the table if you are inviting other people. And our next one will be about the IEP meeting. Miss Kelly.
Okay.
Hi everybody, I'm Kelly, and I'm picking up where the IEP meeting comes into play. Have to have a shout out to Mom, right?
Yeah.
So next in the process, as Pamela mentioned, is the IEP process. A child's IEP is their individualized education plan. So the key word here is individualized, right? Because every child is different. And it's important to note that everything in the IEP will be reviewed line by line. It's actually a legal document that is put together. And this IEP meeting will take place no later than 10 school days prior to the child's 3rd birthday. Okay. So who comes to the IEP meeting? We have the parent or caregiver. We have the early intervention service coordinator, the RIPIN parent consultant, your LEA, and others as needed on an individual basis. So what do we mean by others? As Pamela mentioned earlier, as long as somebody has something positive to contribute or has, your child's best interest in mind, somebody who knows them well or might have specific expertise in one area or another, they can join the meeting. So in addition to your speech and language pathologist, your occupational therapist, physical therapist, if you wanted to invite someone else along to the meeting, then you're encouraged to do that. So when I've gone, I've seen people bring somebody, a child care provider, maybe a grandparent who watches the child frequently and knows them well and knows their habits. Something else, I've seen people invite their pediatrician along if there is a specific medical concern. And something else that is also good is if you bring a close friend, these meetings can be very intimidating. There can be a lot of information coming at you. So it's sometimes nice to have a second set of ears taking in that information as well. Also, I want to mention that while you can invite however many people and the support staff that you would like to bring with you, it is best practice to let the school team know ahead of time so they can prepare and have adequate space for the meeting. So the role of the IEP team, again, all members, including the parent, is to work together. They discuss the children's strengths and needs, write goals and objectives based on those needs, determine special education and related services needed to meet those the goals, determine program placement. And one thing I want to mention about this is program placement specifically talks about where, when, and how frequently special education services will be provided to the child. Will the child attend a program in a classroom setting? Will the child have walk-in services? This is what we're going to be discussing. And the team participates in IEP reviews annually or as needed. So we say annually. In general, an IEP is good for 1 year. But if there would be a review of it once a year. But if there are other circumstances in the meantime, a parent can actually call an IEP meeting whenever they need to. One thing to mention, while this is good for 1 calendar year, it does not necessarily include information on summer services or special education services provided in the summer months. There is a section in the IEP document that specifically references ESY, which is extended school year, and that's what we're talking about when we refer to summer services, ESY. That will be determined. There's a spot, again, in the IEP that says, has extended school year been considered? And there's a spot to say, yes, we have considered it, or no, we haven't, determined based on when the child's birthday falls, what time of year the IEP is being written, and those types of circumstances. Lastly, the LEA will provide early intervention with a copy of the Child Outcome Summary B and C. That's that COAS B and C that we were speaking of earlier. So possible roles of the early intervention staff during the IEP meeting. They're there to provide support to the family and developmental input about your child to the school team. So what are some of those things that they might be doing? They might write down information that you're hearing at the meeting. They could rephrase something if it's not quite clear, or if it's in jargon that we can all sometimes get comfortable with. A parent might not know what something stands for. So they're there to interpret for that. They might prompt the parent to remind them about something that they wanted to ask more information about, and other details as necessary. They also will focus on the goals and objectives and talk about the learning style of the child around the developmental information. Oh, is there a question? Yes.
Is placement determined at this meeting, or is placement reviewed at this meeting?
So the placement is actually determined at this meeting. We've actually, and this is the next thing I was actually going to get to, so good timing. We found out that the child is eligible for services at the eligibility meeting, and now in the IEP, we're actually going to break down when, where, and how services will be provided. Yes.
And we have another question.
Sure.
Who is responsible for taking notes at the IEP meeting?
So who is responsible for taking notes at the IEP meeting? I don't believe that there is a specific guideline that there have to be notes taken, but in general, someone from the school team, it is best practice that someone from the school team will be, and I've seen it happen a lot of times that it's actively happening while the IEP meeting is taking place. They're typing right along and printing out those notes at the end of the meeting and then providing them to the parents or anybody who wishes to review them. Okay, I hope that helps. Okay, making decisions. So we want to go in there and we want to express ourselves and make decisions as a team, but we want to remember to keep it positive. We focus on collaboration. This could be the beginning of a very long relationship with the school team, and your child could be receiving services for a long time. So it's important to go in there and be firm and be positive. We recommend using facts and any supporting documents that you have to make your points, and it's an emotional time. It's completely understandable. This is a child that we're talking about, right? So it can be an emotional meeting, and the discussion can be sometimes heated, sometimes animated. We have a handout that's available, and it's titled, "It's All in the Way You Say It." So that's the kind of thing where, again, you might have something to say, but you want to make sure that you say it respectfully and positively to get your point across. Also, listening to the other team members and asking for clarification when you don't understand something. Or, you never have to be afraid to say, "Can you repeat that? I want to go over that again." Or, "I think I understand what you're saying, but could we talk about that again? And I want to make sure I didn't miss anything." So sometimes you have to agree to disagree. It's a complicated process, and the IEP is written for a 1-year time frame, but it's constantly moving and changing, so it's not written in stone per se. It's a working plan. And also, one more thing I'd like to add before we get to the question is that sometimes if you feel as though you need it, you can ask for a 5-minute break. I think that gives everybody a chance to clear their heads and maybe step away from the table and think, okay, how do I want to phrase this? And come back and start again. There's no shame in that. We have a question.
Yes. Is the school system required to provide meeting notes separate from the IEP document itself for the parents?
Are they required? They usually do. Are they required? I'm not sure if there is a...
Can you repeat that?
Is the school system required to provide meeting notes separate from the IEP document itself for the parents?
I believe that they're available, but the regulation... It's best practice. Okay, so it's best practice that the regulations state that the notes should be available in addition to the IEP. And generally speaking, the school teams do provide that. I'm not sure if it is specifically written that it must be provided. I guess that's the best way.
The parent can ask for.
The parent can ask for it, certainly, certainly, yes. Okay. All right, next. Look at those muscles. So what are your child's strengths and needs? We're focusing at this point about what the child is able to do and not do right now. So this is getting into the actual writing of the IEP and figuring out what they can and can't do and how it functions, it impacts functioning. So that just fell apart. Okay, so when we talk about parents and guardians, this is an example of a strength and a need in a way that a parent or guardian might explain it. And then the job of the EI team and the school team is to take those phrases and those words and that information and put it into IEP speak, basically make it work in the document. So, for example, a strength. Parent might say, when Johnny is watching TV, I can show him a picture of bath time, and he happily follows me for his bath. Whereas a need, Johnny kicks and screams during bath time if I don't show him the bath picture beforehand and label the picture for him. So translated into IEP speak, as I said, the strength could be reworded as Johnny transitions well between activities when using a picture schedule. And the need would translate to Johnny often tantrums when faced with unanticipated transitions. And just a reminder that not all needs are going to be considered for this IEP period. It might focus on some specific things and then address those other needs later. I love her expression. This is what we look like when we get late EI referrals. So she's very excited. Okay, so in life, things don't always go as we plan, right? They don't go on schedule. And Denise showed us the transition process at a glance earlier. And that is the general rule of thumb that we follow. But sometimes things happen, and a child might not get referred to early intervention until a little bit later in the process. So we call those late referrals. And that specifically is anywhere between 90 and 45 days before the child turns 3. Really, what we're saying is if a child is a late referral, early intervention isn't really getting the time to collect as much data as they would if the child had entered earlier or if they were able to receive services and kind of come up with a plan to help them meet their needs. Every district is different, but they do try to speed up the process to try to accommodate that, getting all of the documentation and the IEP written before the child turns 3. But it doesn't always happen, so we have backup that's coming. But early intervention's main role is to assist with transition at this point. And then occasionally we have a later than late referral, and so when a child is referred within 45 days of their birthday, of their 3rd birthday, early intervention really has no time. So they refer the child and family to the child outreach program in their district. And we do have a handout of the child outreach programs available in Rhode Island.
Tell them what the title is.
Yes. So is this is the one?
Yeah.
So on your Part B contacts list, it says the child outreach coordinators. It has names and numbers and information for contacting them. Thank you. Okay. So after 36 months, as of exactly 36 months of age, early intervention has to stop working with the family, even if the transition process isn't complete. So a lot of the times, RIPIN parent consultants will step in to help assist and support through that gap between when the child turns 3 and when the process is completed. But RIPIN parent consultants are not just for late referrals. I want to make that clear that we are there to help the families throughout the entire early intervention process, but then also this is a great time for them to be utilized if the family needs that extra support. After age 3, the parent consultants can stay on. Parents and families might need help accessing other things, applying for other applications or connecting with other resources. And the RIPIN parent consultant will be available to help them do that. You know, it can be a scary and exciting and kind of wild time for families. So it helps to know that there's somebody available from the EI world who's familiar with this stuff that can help guide you after age 3. And always, the RIPIN call center is available. The number is listed here. RIPIN call center provides support to all families with children of all ages. And adults, yes. To all ages, yes, it's very important to people of all ages. So if you want to know more about your rights or the procedural safeguards, or you want to become more familiar with the Rhode Island Special Education regulations, we encourage you to visit www.ride.ri.gov. And I'll now ask Margaret to come back up and finish our presentation.
And before you leave, do we have any quick questions from the audience at all? Anything at all? Okay. All right.
Okay, so I'll hand it over to Margaret.
Okay, I know that Lynette is going to answer that question online. Can I just have that clicker? I'm going to run over and get this clicker. The workshop will be available on our website. You got it? You want to do it, Nathan? Okay, so before we wrap up, just want to tell you about a few of our early intervention resources. We have the Rhode Island Early Intervention Transition Workbook, which we talked about a lot. We have the milestone moments, and we have the Rhode Island Family Guide to participating in the child outcome measurement process. There is a digital version that can be found at the website located below. And we do have some RIPIN workshops. We have 543, What's New for Me. We also have the IEP Blueprint for Success, Preschool and Elementary. And we have more workshops and information located on our website, which is www.ripin.org. And for more information, feel free to check out our website. Also call us. Our number is 270-0101, area code 401. You also email us at info@ripin.org. And I think that concludes our workshop. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank our live audience. Yay! I want to thank the people online. I also want to introduce, it's still on, I also want to introduce our presenters. So if you guys can just come on up, Denise, Pamela, come on up. I want to thank you for everybody for their patience and time. This was our first time doing it. We did an awesome job, ladies, okay? So I'm sure that you will see us and we'll meet again in the near future. So everybody have a great day and remember to be kind to one another, okay? Bye-bye. Bye-bye.